Welcome everyone to the third Honorary Patronage of the 341st session of the University Philosophical Society. Before we award bestow this award to Mr. O'Donnell, I'd like to give a bit of background about the award and what the Phil aspires to do. The Phil is the world's oldest student society and has been running for 340 years, recording the presence of many remarkable members from the likes of Oscar Wilde, Bram Stoker and Samuel Beckett. Today we have 10,000 members from across all corners of the globe. Each year, the Council elects a select number of new honorary patrons to the Society based on their significant contributions to discourse within their respective fields. This includes figures such as President Joe Biden, Angela Merkel, Archbishop Desmond Tutu, Noel Rogers, Courtney Love, the Cranberries, Hosier, Whoopi Goldberg, and a wide range of Nobel laureates, world leaders, Olympians, and Oscar and Grammy Award winners. This year, our Council has elected Mr. O'Donnell to the honour of receiving this gold medal for his contributions to music, entertainment, and the arts. A few words about our man here. Daniel O'Donnell's career spans 4 decades, from his early work with his sister Margot and his band The Grassroots in the early 80s, to his own solo releases of over 50 albums that have captured the hearts and ears of listeners in Ireland. The hearts and ears of listeners in Ireland, Britain, North America, and around the world. Daniel's voice has captivated listeners of country, folk, and gospel music alike, and remains the only artist to land the UK album charts for 35 consecutive years, with 47 top 75 albums, 19 top 10 albums, and 50 million albums sold worldwide. Daniel's enduring appeal stems from far more than this musical longevity. It lies in the stage presence that is translated into a string of successful singing and hosting TV shows. It's his enduring support of philanthropic causes. Here with his wife Magella, who has contributed over €450,000 to the Irish Cancer Society. It is his contributing philanthropic causes not only across that, but across the Donegal Hospice and several hospice causes across the country as well. It's a smile that graces the pages of calendars across the country. Daniel's legacy of Irish musical excellence has made him a deserving honorary patron at the Phil, and we're absolutely honoured to have him joining us today. I hope you'll join me in applause as we give him this award. Thank you.
Is er klop?
Common.
Here you go.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everybody. I am absolutely delighted to be here. When we first got the invitation, I was amused, maybe, number one, that I was going to be invited to come here, but very, very privileged when I researched and looked up all of the people who have stood here where I have stood in front of you and many people before you. I did go to college for a very brief period. I spent 3 months in Galway in 1980. Then in January 1981, I decided that the call to music was very great. Maybe in my mid-teens, I had this crazy idea that I would love to explore the possibility of a career in music. Maybe not the most constructive thing to think about, or maybe a very ambitious thing to think you could achieve. But the call or the idea was so strong in my mind that after the 3 months, I decided I was going to put all my eggs into one basket and run with it. I left college and joined my sister's band in 1981. And I can remember I was in Galway at the regional college as it was at the time. I had ambition maybe to be a teacher. I loved accountancy and economics and maths. They were my subjects. I loved these subjects at school, and I went to do business. And I wasn't a great exam person. So the exams sort of were difficult for me, even though I could do most everything as far as the subjects were concerned. The exams seemed to pin me a little, but I did get to the regional with the idea of transferring eventually to a degree course. It wasn't a degree course at that time. But anyway, I decided, as I said, I would go and try the music. And I was staying with a very nice couple called Sean and Patricia Nugent in Galway in Renmore. And Patricia especially, who's passed away since, was a lady who really shot from the hip. You know, if she had something to say, she didn't hold back. And I went back after Christmas, a bit nervous, to tell Patricia that I was not going to continue my studies. And I went into the house, and as I was walking up the hallway, I could see her in the kitchen. The door was opened. She was standing at the sink. And I said hello, and she said, "Oh, you're back." I said, "Yes." And immediately I started into my speech that I had been rehearsing. I said, "Well, I'm only back, Patricia, to gather my things." I says, "I'm not going to go back to the college. I'm going to sing." And she didn't really look around. She didn't stop what she was doing, but she kind of just turned like this. And she said, "Would you not be better to learn something first?" And I suppose she was right. I should have learned something. But having said that, when my ambition and my dream started to become a reality, and we would do concerts in Galway, and Patricia would be there in the first or second row in complimentary seats, I would proceed to tell this story of Patricia asking me, would I not be better to learn something first? Now, you are all in the place that you should be, learning something. But I would also tell you, if you have a dream, never, never, or ever be afraid to pursue that dream. Because if you manage in life to do what your heart wants to do, not maybe what your head tells you you should do, but if you can follow whatever's in your heart, irrespective of what it is, you will be so fulfilled and so happy that I can't express to you the importance of that. So even though you're here, and as I said, this is where you should be, maybe there is something in your heart that you want to do, but you think it's a crazy idea. Nothing's ever crazy if you want to do it. And I always say, it doesn't matter if you're written about, or if everybody knows your name, or if nobody knows your name, as long as you are fulfilling what you want to do. That's the important thing in life. And you know, we all, I suppose, get the opportunity to meet people at different stages. I mean, I've met people today that I never thought I would meet, and Liam and Owen was the first that I met, both of them outside. And you know, the impression that people make on us is just amazing. And I'm often asked about where is the nicest place you've ever been in the world? And my mind always goes to who did I meet? So never ever dismiss the importance of people. It's the most, it's just what people can give you is beyond anything that you will be able to see. And you know, when we think back to somebody, I don't know if you're all, I'm sure you all have heard of Howard Hughes, who was an incredible man, an incredible entrepreneur, who just was so self-sufficient, you know, and being able to create so many things in his life and do so many things. But I read one time that he walked around and he had shoe boxes on his feet because he didn't want his feet to touch the ground. But even Howard Hughes needed somebody to make the shoe boxes. So irrespective of what he could have done, if there wasn't somebody to make the shoebox, he would not have been comfortable in life. So we must never dismiss people. And no matter what you, and many of you will achieve great things because you're here in this iconic place that has so much history. Many of you will leave and you will do great things. But irrespective of what you might do, never forget the people that you met while you were here, the people that you will meet in the future. Because I don't know if any of you have faith. It doesn't matter if you have faith. But if you have faith, I will tell you that the nearest we'll ever get to God on this earth is the next person that we meet. So it's how we treat them as how we would want to be treated ourselves. Thank you for this great honour. I'm absolutely thrilled. I never thought I would be in Trinity College, standing here with this medal. But I'll cherish it. I'm amazed when I look in the book and see names of all the people that were before me, and there'll be many people after me, even those that are going to come this year. But I am thrilled that you asked me, and delighted that Majella's here with me, and thank you very, very much.
Then we'll open up some crowd questions to be asked. I mean, it's a really lovely address you've given there, and I think I'd like to talk about your faith and your call to music.
Can hardly hear. Can everybody hear?
Do you want to sit here?
No, I'm saying, is there a mic or something?
No, you can't. You know, you
Can everybody hear?
No, you can't hear. Yeah, they can.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm deaf, so
Yeah.
I'm I can't
You
hear.
want to?
Yeah, I'd like to talk slightly about that sort of first call to music and how it drew you away from teaching and into joining your sister as a country singer. How has that call to music perhaps changed over time? Because your career spans decades at this point and across genre and different focuses. Has that call to music always been the exact same, or has it developed and changed over time as your career has evolved?
Well, I suppose, initially, the reason why I did this as a career is because I loved to sing. I don't remember, going back as far as my memory allows me to go, I don't remember a time when I didn't sing. And that was the reason. I just loved, I felt, maybe not as a child, but I was always singing as a child. In my teens, one evening, if I can go back to why I decided that music was going to be special to me. I was just in the local hotel, which was called Austin the Rossan, the Hotel of the Rosses, in Dunlow, and every weekend we used to go there because there was a group that played, and they would get people up to sing and people danced, and it was a community thing, everybody gathered. And I would always be asked to sing, and I was singing one night, and people were dancing, and they were singing along, and they were smiling, and I felt happy. And in those moments, I remember thinking to myself, wouldn't this be a great way to spend my life? And even though I went on to college then, that never left me. That call never left me. Now, I suppose if you go through the stages of my career, it has changed greatly and how I started out. I think, irrespective of what you choose to do, whether it's talent, and everybody has talent, it doesn't matter what you're going to do, you may get a lot of what you have out of the being here and learning, out of books and what people will tell you. But you have to have a talent. You have to be able. And a talent isn't always musical or painting. A talent is whatever you can do. So it's not just something unique. Lots of people can have the same talent. I think the important thing in my career is that doors have to open, and you need to be ready to walk through them. And you need to be lucky. I mean, I always think, God sends us here with whatever talent we have, or whatever way we feel we came. We come with whatever we have. And then it's what we do with it, So I think you need to have luck in life. And you will all need to have luck, as well as what you will learn and the talent that you have. So I think it's been important that at different points in my life, I encountered people who allowed me to go somewhere else. And the other thing that's important is, as great as you might be when you leave here and what you do, remember that whatever you can do, hone in on that. There's some people who think they can do everything, and they're people that will not achieve great things. It's very important to know what you're good at, and also recognize what somebody else can do better. Because I would never try to do anything electrical or just in case you have seen anything, I would never try to change a gas boiler. But, I think that's important. And just here in the front row, Sean Riley is here, and his wife, Olive. But Sean became my manager in 1986. We met in the Gresham Hotel in January 1986, and he remained my manager for 30 years. I never had to think about what I would do in relation to what Sean needed to do for me, because I knew he could do what he needed to do to get me further in what I was doing. So I think no matter what you do in life, always recognize that you cannot do everything, but you can do what you can do fantastically.
I think there's a few ways I'd love to take that, but I think the point on sort of being fortunate to have doors opened by surprise, a lovely thing. And looking at your more recent career, in the last 10 years particularly, your sort of foray into making music in Irish, I understand you learned Irish for the Opry shows and then continued to sing in Irish over time. Do you think that this was sort of a long-term objective, that you always had the desire to sing in Irish, or is it something you found became meaningful over time?
Yeah, well, I was brought up in the Gaeltacht, but unfortunately where we live, even though we're in the Gaeltacht, we were not Irish speakers. It wasn't in the house. Yet 4 miles over the road, the people spoke. It was a lot of their first tongue, As I grew older, we learned Irish in school, of course. I always had a liking for the Irish, and even yet, Níl mé líofa, I'm not fluent. But as we say, if you speak Irish, ta some more as an changa. I have a great love for the language. I went to Gael, which is a school in Glencullen, where many people come to learn Irish, and then a number of you. This is, I suppose, about how things happen that you don't expect. T.G. Cahir have this show it was called Opry, at the Opry in Ure at that time, and they said they would like me to come and do a show, and they would do a show of all my music, and it would be an hour-long show. So they then were surprised when they came to me that I was able to answer a good bit of the questions in Irish. And then they said to me, would you be interested in coming to present some of the show? And I said, well, I'm not that comfortable in Irish. But they said, we'll give you help. So that's how that happened. So I suppose in life, even though you have an idea of what you're going to do, there will be things, we may well have a path in our mind and a path that we think we're going to take, but there's deviations and there's things that happen that bring us in another direction. So the Irish is something that I've enjoyed immensely. I'm still not fluent, as good as I might be in some situations. But even if those of you who are from Ireland, we say Kujimar Tatu or Kujimar Tatu in Donegal, Conasa Tatu or Kewiltu, and Tame Gobra, I'm fine. Even if you only have the answer, we are living in Ireland, and we should embrace the fact that we're Irish, and all this fuss about not flying the flag, we are Irish, and we should be proud to be Irish. We should be proud to see that flag wherever it is. Unfortunately, of course, the history in Ireland was that the flags very often represented the Troubles. But we're away from the Troubles. So we should embrace the Irishness, and we shouldn't be afraid to, the flag. If you go to America, the flag, they are so proud of their flag. I envy them sometimes, how proud they are of their flag. And we should be, and we should be allowed to be. There shouldn't be this thing of we shouldn't fly the flag. We absolutely should be able to. That was nothing to do with the question, but...
I'm quite interested over the last 40 years as you sort of developed this massive celebrity status in Ireland, and this was to yourself as well, but there's been quite a challenge, I imagine, to sort of balance both your public and private life. I think that sort of comes to the fore most prominently in 2013 with you on the Late Late. You shaved your head when you were going through the therapy. How have you managed to reconcile, this is particularly to you, how have you and the family managed to reconcile sort of this private life of your own with sort of this growing celebrity that's been so persistent over the last 30 to 40 years?
To be honest with you, it's never really been a problem. Probably because Daniel is so approachable. He's very approachable. So he's not a star that is surrounded by people and that you can't get to him, and people kind of think, oh my God. Some of the girls, and one of the girls had a video done for her grandmother inside, and that's just Daniel. He does videos. I'd say he does 15 videos a day for people because they're sick or they're this or they're that. So he's very approachable. So in that sense, we're not really bothered. People do come up when we're out, but usually people are really, really nice, and they'll just want to say hello. They want to have a photograph or whatever. And as I said, Daniel, as always, I've never we're married 23 years this year, and I have never heard him saying no to anybody under any circumstances. If we're out having a meal and he's putting a fork of food in his mouth, and he'll get up and he'll go and he'll do the photo or whatever. So it's never been a case of, I suppose I found it a little bit hard at the beginning because, there were people that would, if Daniel was sitting there and I was next to him, you'd have, Daniel, and it would be, but I recognise that people get excited sometimes and, just seeing him. I also recognise that they pay the mortgage, to be honest. If he didn't have people coming up saying, asking him for autographs, then, he wouldn't be where he is today. So you have to kind of remember that. So, being part of it, it was strange. I remember the day we got married. I suppose that was my first exposure to, I'm out there now in the public, and our wedding was on Sky News for 4 hours that day, and the clicking was just, I actually was overwhelmed at one point. But, since then, it's never our public and our private life. We have a very private life, but we've never ever shied away from he hasn't anyway.
I suppose the thing of, if you call it celebrity, if we go back to what you started out by, Majella's cancer diagnosis, because we would be recognised in that situation, Majella was able to go and raise money for the Cancer Society. There are many people who work on the ground that do a lot more than either of us would ever do. But because people know us when they see us, when we speak, our voice is louder. Not by design, but just by circumstance. And because of that, more people here, even though there's people having coffee mornings that they might have 20 at it, and working all the time, doing far more work and raising money, which is very important. But because of, I suppose, where we have found ourselves, we're privileged to be able to bring awareness to things. And that's something that it's not a difficulty, it is a privilege for us. Because, I was involved in the Romanian Challenge Appeal. I mean, different things I've got involved in, mostly maybe only for an hour or an evening or a day, going to things and that might be raising money, and I would go and that would be it. The cancer situation for Majella was different because it means that we're patrons of the Relay for Life in Donegal, which is a cancer charity that is, annually, and they have a day every year that we're involved in. So that's an ongoing thing. The Romanian Challenge Appeal was a different thing, in that I got involved in that because of a neighbour of ours, Eileen Oglesby, who went to Romania to work in the orphanage. And she came home, and then her daughter and some neighbours went. And then they came back and they were raising money locally, which we were all. Live in a very small community in Donegal. So when something is happening, everybody's involved. So we were involved at the different things. And one evening, the girls especially had pictures of the children in this orphanage where 500 children lived. And they were saying, I wonder what could we do? And I was looking at the pictures, and I had been given a song called Give a Little Love by a couple called Steve and Heather Taylor in Coventry that I had never done anything with. But when I was looking through the photographs of these children, the words of the song, give a little love, show them that you care, and when they need you most, let them know you're there. And it was amazing because the words of the song, as I was looking at these faces that I didn't know, was coming through my head, and I thought, maybe that's what this song is for. And then I asked the record company, I asked Steve and Heather, and I recorded the song for the money to go to the charity. Then I thought I should go to Romania just to see what it was about. And I realised that they had an enormous task, that they want. Well, I didn't know what they wanted to do. Sean was with me, and we realised that Monica McDade was the lady in charge of the charity. And I was standing outside the place we were staying after visiting these children in the orphanage, and I said, Monica, what do you want to do? She says, I want to rehouse these children. And I said, that's going to take a fortune. And she says, I know. And I says, it will take millions. She says, I know. And I remember thinking, how do you raise €1 million? It was at that time. And I thought, well, if 1 million people give €1 each, that's 1 million. So then it wasn't the big mountain. When you break things down. Now, the reason I'm kind of jumping from one thing to another. But I was just trying to explain that what some people see as an intrusion in our lives, which to me it's not, because irrespective of what I would have done in life, to be able to interact with people would be paramount. As I said there, meeting, where were you? Who did I meet? So the fact of the celebrity allowed me to talk about the Romanian Challenge Appeal, and eventually that orphanage closed down because these children were rehoused. You know, their lives were better. Some of them, the reason they were there was because Ceausescu wanted families to have loads of children, because he wanted just to take over the world, not just Romania. He wanted everybody to be blue-eyed and blonde, I suppose, a bit like Hitler, and with no defects. So if any child was less than perfect, they were hidden away. Many families could not, afford to keep the children, so they ended up giving them away to the orphanages. I can't begin to tell you. I shouldn't even have got started in this, because it broke my heart to see these children.
Babies in cots,
You know.
somebody put his hand in, the cots were soaking.
The one thing, I just go, just thinking about that situation, and achievements are sometimes funny things, and what we were told, or that was said about the children in these orphanages, is that they would never contribute anything to life, so they weren't important. Well, that is not the case in life, because every individual, irrespective of what they can achieve, everybody is important. And the important thing is that no matter who they are or what disability they might have, I hope that's not the wrong word now, everybody can achieve something. And as Magella talks about, the greatest achievement of Romania for me, now I want to say this without getting emotional about it, but we went into a room where all of the children were disabled. And I was walking around and I put my hand, this one child was in a bed, and he reminded me of my nephew, because he has cerebral palsy. And I put my hand on the bed, and the bed was soaking wet. And I thought at that moment that this was the worst thing I had ever experienced, that child was lying in that bed and it was soaking wet forever. It may never have been changed. Now, fast forward a number of years, after lots of money was raised, I went back and we went to a specially built home for children with disabilities. And I went into a room, and this happens to me every time.
I know.
I went around and I found this child, and I put my hand on his bed, and his bed was dry. So there was the greatest achievement. It wasn't that one of them was going to become a doctor because they got out, or they were going to get married. But this child that was lying in a wet bed was always going to be in a dry bed. And there was the achievement. So never diminish what an achievement is. It was never written about. It will never be written about. So, to carry celebrity, even if sometimes it is a bother, even that one thing that happened because I got the opportunity to speak, it would be worth being bothered every day of your life.
That's really, really good. I'd like to open up to questions, if anybody has anything. Yes, sir.
there's a song that has spoken to you, that you've heard. Magella is very hard of hearing, and she just came back from Australia yesterday, and she forgot to recharge the hearing aids. So I don't know. I suppose there's lots of songs in my own career that's been important, you know. But we recorded a song and sang it in the Late Late Show. It's called Remember Me. It was during COVID, and it's beautiful, written by a great man called Christy Hennessy. Yeah. I suppose, maybe, are we keeping everybody too long?
Is that one here?
I don't. Anybody else have any questions? We have loads of time.
It's 10 to 2, Dean.
With that, I think we'll wrap up. Thank you very much for coming. A round of applause, please.